All right. I want to make a couple of postings admins. But let us make a couple of postings co-admin, should in case we need to add people. Mr. Christopher Young. Mr. Christopher Young, please. One of our co-admins. Let us limit it at all time.
Okay.
So in case we have issues with the network or anything, you can have at least help us to inform the Mr. Theophilus Banigos. They are all important, but we can't make everyone co-admin. Mr. Eliot. So what we do is, in case there are issues with the network, and help to pivot the affairs of this section. Thank you very much. So today, like I said earlier, we'll be going into introduction to behavioral-based safety, which is very germane when it comes to the health and safety practice. Based on statistics, we have been made to understand that there are some statistics that say that most of the accidents that occur are due to the unsafe acts of human intervention. Even when we talk about management effects, talk about management failures. Management are not made up of robots. Management are still made up of humans who make decisions. When it comes to the issue of decision making, it still has to do with human beings. So at the end of the day, even when we say the management still comprises of humans who fail. Actions and inactions. So at the end of the day, everything has to do at all time. Please, I'm having Mr. Innocent Okechi. Please help us to mute yourself, or you will be sent to the other side. Please. Our co-admins, anyone that is not muted, please let us help us to mute such person so that we can flow. So that makes behavioral-based safety very important. Yes, that makes behavioral-based safety very important. I don't know if I'm very audible. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, you're audible, Wally.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So now this makes behavioral-based safety very important. That is why we're talking about behavioral-based safety. Most times we only focus on those that are working on site. We only focus on the workers. We only focus on one side in applying our behavioral-based safety programs, and we fail to look at the area of the management structures too, because it is the informed or uninformed decisions of individuals that makes up their behaviors. And when we do not create an approach to safety via the behavior of individuals, both starting from the top management that makes the decision to the workers, and in between them, the leadership, because leadership is not only about the top management. Leadership also cascades down to the individuals, to the workers. Everyone has a responsibility, has a role to play. has one or two things to do when it comes to aspect, but everything starts with an approach. Individuals, we have been brought up with different ideology, different understanding, different beliefs, different backgrounds, different concepts about life, different lifestyles, different religion background, different ethnicity, but we are coming together in the workplace to achieve a common goal. And for us to be able to have that common sense of safety, there's this aspect of behavior. In pure management, they use psychological safety to address, to give a term to the structure that helps to do with such a aspect of management approach. That is pure management. When it comes to safety, we call it behavioral-based safety. And these are what we are talking to, what I try to do today. Like I said, this is an article that I came across and I found it very interesting for us to look at it together and study it together. Most of us don't have time to study. I observe that most of us, we are very quick to ask for materials. Please send me this material. Anytime we send the material online, on WhatsApp, quickly we download them, but we don't really have time to actually study this material. So I've decided to look at it like, okay, instead of every time we invite people to talk, I also do presentations. What about looking at all these materials that we always ask for, that we see that people download on WhatsApp group like that? Let us pick one of them at a time once in a while and let us study them together. At least that will be -1 from the number of materials that we study. So if you can have this section, like something like this, if you can have it, what's it called? If you can have it like 20 times in a year, we have 54 weeks, maybe you have 20 times in a year, that is 20 materials that we've studied. It goes a long way for individuals who participate in the section. At least we have broader knowledge, and we are always busy going to work morning to night. At night we are tired, we just go to sleep. So we thought of having this session where we look at one material at a time. Maybe 1 week we look at the material, the second week we call someone to talk to us, to educate us. The other week we look at the material. This is another approach to real learning and improving our competency in our competency level, and it's absolutely free, like we all know. So, like I said, it's a roundtable study section. It's not only about me; it's about we. If this is the material, I think it's 14 pages. So we all go through it while I'm talking. We all go through it. If you have any comment or any addition, you can just raise up your hand. Then I'll call you to contribute or what you feel about a particular statement. So this material is not mine. I saw it online, and it's basically for education and training purposes only, and not a standard or a guide to how you practice your health and safety. We have so many guidelines. We have so many guidance documents. We have so many standards: the ISO, the ESG, the ILO conventions, the Safety Act, the Factory Act, and the like. So this is just a material, one of those materials that is required of us, or that can help us to improve in our competency level. So I do not take credit for this material. It doesn't belong to me in any way, but I find it very important that we actually, Dan Patterson talk about behavioral safety. He said, as I look at what we as professionals in safety have done to the best concept for possible improvement, it seems we have done everything possible to make sure this, what we are talking about, behavioral safety approach, will fade away. Just another safety program of the month. Maybe the answer is to learn how to manage safety first, then implement this behavioral-based safety. I believe that this professor is talking about is that most times we see behavioral-based safety as just one aspect that is not integral part of our safety management systems. And we all believe that most of the accidents that have happened in the past have been based on human effect. But when it comes to behavioral-based safety, I remember in the last safety week that happened, most of the companies that called me to come and talk, or most of them were talking about behavioral-based safety. It's not seen as an integral part of the system. And with this approach, it means that with time, what we call behavioral-based safety will or can practically fade away with time. And that's why they said, this man said, Dan Patterson said, maybe the answer is to learn about managing safety first, then implement this behavioral-based safety approach. We have so many systems in place to in order to address behavioral-based safety. It's very common. Okay, if I should allow 2-3 people to talk about behavioral-based safety now, what most of us will say is that, okay, encourage good acts. When someone does something good, thumbs up, motivation. Those are most of the things that we talk about. And when someone does something good, find a way to discipline or whatever approach in order to ensure that they don't reinforce negative behaviors. But when it comes to managing health and safety first, it should be the first approach. Imagine a company that does not have a robust management system for health and safety, talking about behavioral-based safety. And most times they put that behavioral-based safety approach towards the workers, towards those on the process line, towards those the technicians, the laborers, the welder, the operators, the carpenters. They direct the practice of behavioral-based safety or the program towards them, and they neglect the management side, those that make the decision for them to have a good approach to health and safety. That's why most times they talk about management commitment. One of those ways that I believe that we can actually integrate and extend or improve our management commitment to health and safety is for us to strategize and develop a behavioral-based safety approach based on management system, based on leadership, based on the individual that makes up the management. What is their approach? What do they think when they hear about safety? How can we change their ideology, their reasoning, their thinking about safety for them to be able to reason along with us and help us or support us in managing health and safety? There is no way you can talk about having a robust health and safety without management commitment. So alongside the article continuously, there is no universal agreement about behavioral-based safety. In a recent UAE article, we read most behavioral-based safety programs are fundamentally outdated, and they have so many theories that are not even correct. For modern marketing, everywhere BPS, everywhere BPS, everywhere BPS. Salesmen, for example, for behavioral-based safety program claim to eliminate salesmen, those of the various consultants or the various individuals that have this structure for behavioral-based safety and they sell to clients. They claim that they try to eliminate injuries and improve relationship between supervisors and workers. But oftentimes, these safety programs set up elaborate mechanisms. You know, if you look at what is embedded in most behavioral safety programs, you see mechanisms like observing your workers, coaching them, rewarding discipline, observe, coach, reward, discipline. Behavioral-based safety program appeal to many companies because they make health and safety very simple. They don't need to take any change in management. They don't need to adjust anything in management. Just focus on the workers. Just look at how workers are behaving. Just look at how workers are doing their jobs. And to them, it looks cheaper. It looks cheaper than creating the structure of health and safety where they have to do a proper. They have to have a separate dimension to health and safety. And to the employers, it looks cheaper for them because the focus is on the workers. Workers, okay, this worker is not doing well. This worker does not have behavioral-based safety. Let us take him out. Let's look at someone else. Okay, let us train them. Let us reward them. Let us discipline them. Let us observe them. The energy, most of the energy of behavioral safety is towards the workers, and it's actually cheaper for them than actually addressing the hazard. Because when it comes to behavioral safety, the actual hazard, that is when we said creating a robust management system, the actual hazard is not being addressed, but they focus more on looking at the workers. The program ignored the most appropriate method for eliminating health and safety as that was that was a reference into, and which I personally, I think I actually I actually have belief in this, or actually, how will I put it, agree to an extent about this. I don't know if anyone have a comment about what is being said here, but I believe that if you look at truly, when you look at what most of us understand about behavioral-based safety, is most times towards the behavior of the workers, and there is no real reference to the management system, no reference to the behaviors of those that make decisions, that is the management. Like I said earlier, if you have any contribution, this is the study session, not one person talking and one person receiving. This is a study session. If you read a particular place and you have a question or you want to contribute, also have something to say, please kindly raise up your hand and let us study together. This is a pure study session. So the next line says, could leadership-based safety be the key? So now, since we've spoken negatively about the aspect of behavioral-based safety, where the approach is always about the workers, observe the workers, look at what the workers are doing and what they are not doing right, and correct them, reward them, and encourage them. And it's always about the workers. So now the next slide now says, the next paragraph now says, would leadership-based safety now be the key? Is it now about leadership? Behavioral-based safety relies on trust between labor and management. You can see it's not about workers and the organs. It says it relies between everyone that is working, the employees, and the employers and the management. Management and labor must earn each other's trust. That's why we say it should be a two-way approach, behavioral-based safety. I believe that even this first 10 or 20 minutes have given us has expanded our insight into how we should also approach behavioral-based safety instead of looking every time at the workers alone. Management and labor must earn each other's trust. Management is important, but without strong leadership, you can manage all you want, but all you get is a nice safety manual that is sitting on the shelf. Please let us switch of our cameras is very important. You can have you'll see that there's a difference between having a management and leadership. Management systems, creating the story is the leadership that goes a long way to, it's like as an umbrella for both management, employees, employers, and the likes. Without proper leadership, all you will have are just safety manuals. Even in our ISO system, they talk about leadership and management commitment. Leadership is a very important aspect of behavioral safety. If there are no leaders, are just there for having sake. Most times, most companies, they have this document just for them to be able to go over legal implications and to have to be certified by a third party, and not actually having that structure that helps them to address issues and challenges that are safety inclined. Labor is important. Also, we talk about labor. Labor is important, but without leadership, without the right leadership, without the right set of leaders, all you get is a series of failed attempts at system improvement. Leadership is key. So what this particular one is telling us is to understand why there's a difference between having a management system and having good leadership approach. Leadership forms a greater aspect of having an improved behavioral-based safety system in any organization. In the aspect of the labors of the employees, you can have your workers, you can have a good technician, you can have a good safety officer, you can have a very sound managers, production engineers, but without proper leadership, all what you see a failed attempt at system improvement, which means that leadership is very, very key. Please let us help us to admit people in as they are coming in. The next one says business is behavior. Business is behavior. The ABCs of VBS, most of us, we know these ABCs, the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. And like we also say, we focus more on the behaviors. What does antecedent say? According to Thomas Krauss, it says, antecedents are pre-existing sensory or intellectual input that triggers behavior and influence decision making. You can see that antecedent doesn't only have to do with what is available, what is existing. It has to do with what has been existing way before, what is available in the workplace, even for the individual too. What is his approach to things? What is his lifestyle? What is his way of doing it? His culture, his background. That will influence his natural decision making. And like we said, people come from different aspects of life coming together in the workplace. So you need to understand that aspect, that people are coming with their own lifestyle, with their own approach, with their own understanding. Their understanding might have been shaped based on past training that they've gotten, or based on experience, and it has shaped their behavior. That is where the issue of HR recruitment comes into play. Because when you are recruiting, you know what you are looking for, and that will give you an informed decision of the kind of behavior you expect to have in your workplace. Coupled with the fact that you still have to deliberately create policies and strategies in order to ensure that those behaviors continues to improve on the culture of the organization. So everyone coming into the workplace, and even what we have in the workplace already, is an antecedent. For example, you have a situation where workers report an unsafe practice, or where workers, let me use a very simple example, a faulty guard of a moving machine, the guard has removed or is loosed, and a worker has reported it, and nothing has been done based on poor leadership, like we mentioned earlier. At the end of the day, you can see that the behaviors does not only start with the worker who still continues to work with that equipment, but the behavior has now gone to the management, who failed to create a structure, an approach to how they should properly address unsafe conditions that have been reported. So antecedent talks about the state of things before a particular action is taken. So all these state of things will trigger the behavior and influence decision. So we have the examples. It's about sometimes it can be about telling workers what to do to receive a consequence. If you do this right, if you do this thing, this will be the consequence. We'll still go more into that, into consequence approach. Then can be tangible, concrete, intangible, or abstract. Please, our co-admins to help us to admit people in as they're coming in, so that I can focus on the class. Only as powerful as the consequence that supports them. So we should antecedent, consequence. In between, we have the behavior. The consequence is what people look at, or is what we look at most of the time. If you walk without an angle of, your hands you get exposed to an hazard. If you walk without an hazard, if you have a permit to walk, you might not know the hazard that is involved in the job. That we are always focused about the consequence. But what this is telling us is that to make a behavior a part of the business is to understand that the antecedent that could lead to a particular consequence, they both carry equal weight. Antecedent should be as powerful as the consequence. The same way we are looking at someone can fall from height and the person can die. It's the same way we should look at what do we have on ground that could make someone to fall. We should not only focus on the consequence, but also the antecedent takes an equal share of the strength, the power that supports them. So behavior talks about, according to E. Scott Geller, behavior refers to acts or actions by individuals that can be observed by others. So what you can term as behavior, what you can term based on the real definition, what you can call someone's behavior is what you see. but that can be observed by other, or what they say, or what you hear them say. That can be the behavior of someone. Someone who talks too much, like someone who insults, who is used to insulting other people. The insult that he gives is his behavior, is what you hear them say. So in other words, behavior is what a person does or what a person says, as opposed to what he thinks of or feel or believes. So most times we are not after what is in your mind. We are only after what is in your mind at the early stage of antecedent. But by the time you get to the organization, there's what we call thought, feeling, and action. Thought, feeling, and action. Your thought comes first. Your thought is the one that shapes the way you feel about things. When you have a negative thought about someone, no matter what that person does, the person will always be bad. And it makes you to have a negative feeling about such person. And the way you act towards that person will be negative. I'm just giving us an overview definition of what TFA really means. So we call it thought, feeling, and action. But in the aspect of shaping people's behavior, we believe that it can work in both directions. It can work forward, thought first, feeling first, and action. And it can also work backward. Action can change the thoughts of individuals, and action can change the feeling of individual, and his feeling can change his thoughts. So it can work in both ways. So what behavior says is that no matter what someone thinks or what someone feels or what someone believes, based on a structured way to have positive action, that is good act, positive approach to health and safety, we can actually use it to shape someone. For example, there are times that we have worked in organizations where workers have confirmed, they have surrendered to the fact that, especially those that work at height, for example, when they first start, it will be difficult for us to tell them to work, to use body harness. They find it difficult because they are not used to that system of using body harness. But as time goes on, they get used to it. So when they get used to it, when they now have maybe they stop working with the organization that requires them to have harness, for example, and they're now working outside. Maybe they have their own contract, maybe they have their own company, and they need to work at night. They have confirmed that they get scared of working without body harness because they are already used to the body harness. So what this tells us is that even the behavior of individuals or the behavior of an organization can be shaped based on the structure. Remember we talked about the leadership, why leadership is very, very important. Leadership is like the pillar that cascades the light, pillar does not cascade light. What can I use? The pillar can have light attached to it anyway. So the pillar that cascades strength to other aspects of management system and the workers and the employees and the employers. So at the end of the day, if you can create a system that defines the behavior that you want in your workplace, while looking at the antecedents of the various behaviors that are possible to have and understand the aspect of the workers, you can have positive acts that you actually desire in your workplace. What are the characteristics of behaviors? A dead man can establish a behavior. A dead man is dead. It's observable, it's measurable. You know when someone is having a good behavior and when someone is having a negative behavior based on what you have set for yourself. It can be anywhere, it can be anytime, it can be done by anybody. These are just general characteristics. Then talking about consequences. Consequences, according to Britt Daniels, a consequence is simply what happens to the performer as a result of the behavior. But consequence can be positive or negative, it can be immediate or future, and it can be certain and uncertain. What happens after someone have carried out a particular behavior? At the end of the day, what we have is a consequence of him taking on that behavior. So which can either be positive or negative. That's why we say that most times we talk about the consequence. If we are talking most times, we say, why do you have to follow health and safety procedure? Okay, even if we are talking about home safety or every kind of safety, because at the end of the day, it will lead to it helps us to reduce cost of accident, cost of medical costs, insurance costs, legal cost. It helps us to improve workplace productivity. All what we mention at the end of the day, whether positive or negative, is based on consequence. But what about the antecedents? What about the behaviors? What about what precedes the particular behavior? What about the structure that is available? So most times when companies look at the consequence, they are being forced to just have a minimum standard. I don't know if someone understands what I'm saying. A minimum requirement. Okay, because we don't want this consequence, we don't want this consequence, we don't want this consequence. Then they look towards having just creating the minimum requirement that is needed for them to save them from that. They do not most times look at. But if they look at the antecedent, because most times they look at the antecedent, but if we can look at the antecedent of what precedes the behavior, it will give them a much more broader sense of looking at the various aspects of the management system and creating a good structure that helps to address safety challenges. Now, why do we work safely? I think this also covers what I've said, what I just finished saying now. Why do we work safely? Antecedents, behavior, consequences. You can see most times like I said, we create, we just look at the antecedent, but the behavior, we don't look at the antecedent, we only talk about the consequence. If I ask us, what was the consequence of putting on the safety glass? Please, who can tell us the consequence of putting on the safety glass during a grinding operation? Who is there? Is anyone there? Is anyone there? Network. The network is bad. Is it from my side? Is the network from my side?
Or not? Is it of putting on safety glass?
I can't hear you loud and clear. Is it from my side?
No, Wally, we can hear you very well. It's not from your side.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. So I was asking, what's the consequence of not putting on a safety glass?
The consequence would be high.
Okay, blindness. Thank you. So now
high injury.
Thank you very much for your input. Now the question now is the antecedent. What behavior or what can make someone to use or not to use safety glasses? What can make?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, my name is Igbe Kwoke. The antecedent now is what to make the guy not to use safety glasses. A whole lot of things. We can check a whole lot of things. One, it could be management failure to provide the safety glasses for them. So when you go to the field, you will see the guy not wearing it. Or two, it can also be that the glasses are not comfortable with his eye. They are not compatible with him. Bearing in mind that they were not carried along in the procurement process to know the kind of safety glasses that they will use. So when you don't have that system in place, the man will end up not wearing the safety glasses. Then the other one will not be maybe they were not inducted at the entry point to the company. They were not told that, look, as you go to work here, you must wear your safety glasses. So if you look at the antecedent, all these things ought to have come first to establish the behavior of that person. If that is not done properly, it will not elucidate the consequences. It's going to be eye injury to that guy. This is just my little contribution to that, please. Thank you.
That is wonderful. Now, complacency and availability. So we can now see that if we look through the lens of antecedent, we'll be able to make a lot of informed decisions. We'll be able to look at where are those areas that we need to look out for. But most times we only look at consequences. If the person does not use eye glasses, the person's eyes may get blind. The person's eyes may get damaged. This and that. At the end of the day, we just try to, then the solution is to put on the glasses, minimum requirement. But based on what you have said now, it will create it will illuminate us to know what is really happening. It will create much more broader sense. That's why behavioral based safety is not only about the workers. The behavioral-based safety starts from the management itself. In fact, it starts from every angle. Don't let me say start from the management, because everyone should be simultaneously involved. But at the end of the day, we see that we put so much of our strength on the workers not using the eye goggle. We use that to judge the behavior of the of the overall system. But what my Oga just said now, if you look at it from why didn't he use the safety glasses? Maybe they didn't procure, or it wasn't available, or during the procurement they didn't engage them to know the. So from there, it will create more light into other areas that was left not addressed. So at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you will now see by yourself that antecedents should actually carry equal weight, even if not even a greater weight, than looking just at the consequence. So now, from what we just said now, and I said, which has the greatest influence on safe behaviors? Who can answer that? Which one should have the greatest influence on safe behaviors?
Yeah, the antecedent will do that. The antecedent will have the greatest effect on it.
Yeah, but most times, what do we
Consequence.
look at? Now we now have different views now. So which ones do you think should have a greater influence of behavior?
I'm going to come from the carrot and stick pattern. You understand? Because I just like, for instance, let me just share a scenario. A guy came from work in the evening, entered his compound and saw everybody running away. You know, he started running. Nobody asked him to run, but when he saw them running, he started running. So he got to the other side and asked him, why were you running? He said, I saw everybody running. Now, another person can look at it that there was an armed robbery scenario in a place. So policeman came to those places and wanted to arrest people. Now, if you are staying in that area, you may not want to go home, because you know that if you go to that place, the police guys, they will definitely arrest you. So if you look at the antecedent of all these things, it will definitely result to the consequences of your action if you live in that environment. So if we're able to deal on the antecedent of what happened, it will pave a way for us to see the kind of behaviors that personnel will definitely put up. Then if that behavior is put up, you will now match it to the consequences of what will happen to them. Then if you use the consequences to match the antecedent, you'll be able to reinforce a behavior and change the at-risk behavior into a positive behavior. That's just how I see it, sir.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. Beautiful. The antecedent should carry same weight. That is what we are talking about. And that's what we've all highlighted here. The antecedent should carry the same weight as the consequence. If you carry the same weight, we should not only look at the consequence, we should also look at the antecedent. So now let's look at motivation strategies. Behavior is a function of consequence. Every culture is a culture of consequence. That is what is being done most of the time. Consequences that increases behavior. We are actually vast in these areas. Positive reinforcement. To be effective, it must increase desired behavior. You work to get something and may perform far beyond minimum standard because of what you are looking out for, because of what you know that you will get at the end of the day. This is the only strategy that works to increase discretionary effort. You know, in positive reinforcement, there's discretionary effort. People do extra work. They put in extra energy because they know that at the end of the day, they will be rewarded. The focus is on success. Worker perform to receive the consequence. They know, because it's positive reinforcement, they know that, okay, if I report near misses, or if I have the highest report of near misses, there will be a gift at the end of the year, or if I comply to health and safety, I'll be given safety champion of the week or safety champion of the month, or I'll be given a kind of award or I will be given a free course to go for, which is very expensive, or I'll be given so many forms of reward, okay, because he knows that he's going to receive a consequence. Workers may perform far beyond minimum standard. The only strategy that works to increase discretionary effort focuses on excellence. If you report a hazard, you are recognized. If you report a particular hazard, you are recognized. If you prevent an injury or save money, you are rewarded. These are examples of positive reinforcement. Now let's go to negative reinforcement. Intent is to increase desired behavior. The reason why we have negative reinforcement is also to increase desired behavior, but it's a negative approach, but it's still a form of reinforcement. You work to avoid something you don't want and usually perform only to minimum standard. This strategy may work well if the focus is only on compliance. For example, if people, like the last man, let me use the last one for example. Most people in Lagos, they wear seat belts because they know that if they don't wear seat belts, because they know that if they don't wear seat belts, what will happen to them? They would go through the negative consequence of not wearing seat belt. If you wear your seat belt every day, no last man is going to give you an award, or no. If you are compliant, if you don't cause havoc, if you are a peaceful person in your community, you are going well, no fights, no one is going to give you an award of the most peaceful person. It's not possible. So in the workplace, there are areas of negative reinforcement. You are only doing it to minimum standard just because you want to avoid the consequence of not doing it. You know that if you don't put on your seatbelt, you might be arrested. That's why you see some people, whenever they are in locations that they are not last man, they will do what? They will take off the seatbelt. That is negative reinforcement, because it doesn't help people to carry out that particular behavior based on the fact that it is required of them to improve on the safety culture, but because they know that if they don't do it, it's going to have a negative consequence. Workers perform to avoid the consequence. Workers perform to minimum standard, unlike the positive reinforcement where workers perform it discretionary because they know that they will get rewarded. Can work well if the focus is on compliance. If you wear that eye protection, you won't get injured. Yes, that's also negative reinforcement. It is different from if you don't wear that eye goggle. If you wear that eye goggle and you are very compliant with it, you will get a reward. That is positive reinforcement. But for negative reinforcement, if you don't wear that eye protection, if you wear that eye protection, you won't get injured. So that's the reward. You won't get injured. There's no positive reward for you or something extra. If you comply with safety rules, you won't get disciplined. So now, consequences that decreases behavior. What are those consequences that decrease behavior? Punishment. Intent is to stop undesired behavior. You get something you don't want when you misbehave. So when you do something that is not right, you get what you don't want. If you don't comply, you'll be sent out of the workplace, or you will be given 3 days leave without pay, or 3 days suspended without pay. Punishment does not predict what the replacement behavior would be. It is usually non-intentional. You something you don't want when you misbehave. But, when you carry out positive reinforcement, you want people to keep doing it. You want people to keep doing it. But when it comes to punishment, like what is being said here, it does not predict what the replacement behavior will be. What the person will later do, it does not predict it. It's usually unintentional in organizations. If you engage in horseplay, you'll be suspended from work. As simple as that. It doesn't tell us what the person should do in order not to engage in horseplay. But the rule is, if you engage in horseplay, you'll be suspended from work. So all this will decrease good behavior at work. Extinction, that is withdrawal of positive reinforcement. You work in a culture that ignores performance. You work in a culture that ignores performance. There's no relationship between performance and consequence. People, when they do good job, they are not being seen, they are not being rewarded, they are not, but there's no form of recognition. It is epidemic in organization. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how hard you comply or how hard you want them to see you as being a very compliant person. They just don't see it. Workers eventually perform without expectation of consequences other than their salary. Person is ignored. There's no relationship with management. It doesn't matter how hard I work around here. Apathy is rampant, but who cares? So this is another consequence that decreases positive behavior in the workplace. I don't know if anyone has something to say about this before we move to the next one because of time. Is anyone saying anything about this?
Okay, Wally, thank you. Just to add to what you have said, you're very right. Because when you look at the characteristics that you have, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, then extinction, you also have something that is called penalty. Then one of the characteristics of punishment as a bad way of trying to bring in desired behavior is the fact that for it to work, you must maintain that punishment, because immediately you remove the punishment, people tend to go back to behave in an undesired way. In fact, a typical example, the way it is illustrated is that punishment is like you are pushing a ball inside the water. So for you to keep that ball inside the water, you must maintain that pressure. Once you remove your hand, the ball comes up. So more or less like when you remove punishment, the undesired behavior comes back into the system. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Wale, I agree to what he said, in the sense that, like, I'll use my workplace as a scenario. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'll use my workplace as a scenario. I'm Destiny by name, Destiny Odoye. I'm an HSC personnel. Like a few weeks ago, there was some guys that were removing their helmet from the work site, and they were in the field. And I gave them a polite warning, cautioned them, they see it as play. But by the time I start giving warning letter to them, I think when all of them sees me, what they do, safety is coming. Before you know, they're where they are. Even when I sight them from distance, when I get to them, I give them punishment. And with this thing, I've really helped in my work sites. So I think that punishment is really the key. Thank you.
Yes, I quite agree with you to a larger extent in creating consequences, in shaping the consequences or creating consequences. We have to have an approach that uses both positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and punishment. Extinction is not always advised. Yes, penalty too is advised. The penalty should fall under punishment, and if not, they can be separated. So positive reinforcement for those that are doing good. It shouldn't only be about, okay, we give punishment for those that are not compliant. What about those that are compliant? What do we do to them? Okay, you're compliant. Maybe you are collecting salary now. That should be enough. Once we do that, we are already moving towards extinction. So while we engage them in punishment, negative reinforcement also, we should also, those that are doing the right thing, and don't let us forget the management also. The management, we should also have this structure for the management. What happens if a manager is one that is not compliant to health and safety? What do we do in that regard? Should we ignore him because he's the manager? So positive reinforcement should also go to the manager. Negative should also go to the manager, and like that to the workers. It should be a waiting. Mr. Okafor, please kindly unmute yourself quickly.
All right, Mr. Wali, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so what I wanted to just add is this issue of punishment and all these kinds of engagement. I'd like to point out That for me, I tell people that a safety personnel is not a police officer. When I mean police officer, I mean the Nigerian police officer. You know, you're driving and and you just make a mistake. Probably you make one traffic mistake, and the next thing you're hearing, park, park. You dey go station, all those kinds of stuff. Last month, people tend to also work in that direction. Is this person a first-time offender? Is this person a perpetual offender? Is this person doing this as a result of an emergency? These are the things that needs to be understood before you now make appropriate decision on how to address that person and the situation. So for me, you do corrections, you do engagement of the person to let the person see reasons why he should comply with basic safety rules. And then if the person is now a repeated violator, then you switch it up to the next stages until that issue is solved. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Can I say something?
Yeah, quickly, sir, because of time.
Okay. Another thing again, we can use consequences to reinforce our positive behavior. If we always point the consequences of that behavior to them, it will actually help them to work safe. Take, for instance, a personnel who is jumping from one scaffold to another, and you held him down and you talked to him. You told him that if he jumps, if he breaks his leg, if he falls down, he will break his leg. And if he breaks his leg, he may be out of business. And if he's out of business, he may not be able to take care of his family. He may not be able to pay his tax. He may not be able to do a whole lot of things. So if we use the consequences of the action, you can actually use the consequence of that action to reinforce a safe behavior in the life of a worker. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think that is part of also what we've highlighted. Thank you so much for the contribution, sir. So moving forward, to be effective, consequences should be soon. Immediately you spot a good behavior, you should make sure that it occurs immediately after the behavior, and ensure that our behavioral-based safety plan recognizes performance immediately. We should have a behavioral-based safety plan. Yes, it's very important. The more time it takes to recognize, the more significant the recognition must be. So if it takes more time for us to recognize, then you must ensure that the recognition is more special than when it's being done immediately. So the more time it takes for you to recognize, the more stronger, the more significant the recognition must be. Then every employee should also know that they will be recognized and why they are being recognized. It is not only enough for you to recognize worker without them knowing what they did. They must know. Most times, I know they used to know. They must know what exactly they did that make them to be recognized, not just a result of, okay, I think this award they give me. I think I'm lucky. They should know that, okay, this is the reason why this person was given this award. And it's very obvious that based on metrics, based on statistics, that this person is actually very compliant. So that talks about your behavior-based safety plan must specifically and precisely know what was done to be rewarded. Do employees generally understand what is required to be recognized? They must know what they need to do in order for them to be recognized. When asked what it takes to earn the reward, do they just imply that they don't know about it, or what they're just coming here to do is just to work and go home? They don't understand the aspect of compliance, and they don't understand the aspect of getting rewarded, or they just come to work and say, we don't know anything about reinforcement, we don't know anything about encouragement. All I know is I come, I do my work, and I go home. You should create a structure that makes them to identify and understand the aspect of behavioral-based safety. So does the behavioral-based safety plan allows a pass-around reward, or is just what must be given to someone that deserves it? Is it that everybody must get rewarded? Okay, this person has been rewarded, then this person too must be rewarded. Because when that is being done, then the reward is not contingent in behavior. Then the purpose of the reward will not be achieved. There must be a structure that defines who should be given an award. That someone is getting an award 100 times doesn't mean that it must, and the person keeps complying, the best compliant. It should keep giving him It doesn't devalue the purpose of the award. Oh, because the person has gotten it, I've gotten it 3 times, let us give somebody else. No, it will actually devalue the purpose of you giving that reward. So, because of time, significant, it must be significant. What you are giving as the reward must be perceived more than an entitlement. Significant is defined by the receiver. Everybody must understand the aspect of the significance of what you are giving them, the value that it adds to them. Yes, it can be something as simple as a gift, but behind the gift, you should understand that it's a form of recognition from the top management that especially identifies those that go extra miles to comply with health and safety. We don't have to recognize them. That is what they are being paid to do. This mindset should not be in our mindset. Does our behavioral safety plan assume that the same form of recognition is there for all? The employer of a reward, the receiver of a reward defines the nature of the reward. One employee reward might be another person's punishment. For example, you want to reward somebody by saying, don't come to work. Maybe, okay, we are going to pay you, just go on 2 days leave and go and enjoy yourself. We are going to pay you for the leave, for the 2 days extra leave. But if you are giving somebody else that kind of a leave, maybe somebody that always like to come to work, there be a punishment. So if it's possible, it's not always possible for you to know the kind of special reward that would really be valued by individuals or your workers that you give the reward, then it's go extra mile. Aside from that, there are generic reward that regardless of who you are, you always value them. One of those rewards is money. Okay, because of time, let us move on. Sincere, your rewarding must be sincere. You must genuinely appreciate to them. It must show that you not just that because it's in our system. We have already created a behavioral safety plan that we need to reward them. We reward them. It must reflect it must reflect that we rewarding them. It comes from our heart. It is genuine and precise, so that it will motivate them more. So you need to recognize them in public. You need to reprimand in private. Any other problem with this principle. It's very important for us to understand that recognition goes a long way. In public and in private, they need to understand, we need to be able to create that kind of environment. I'm trying to move faster because of time. Now, micro approach to BBS. This talks about improvement is achieved primarily by changing the behavior of the hourly employee. We talk about the behaviors of individuals. For those who joined us from the beginning, when we talk about the TFA, the thought, feeling, and action. So the BBS refers to the use of applied behavior analysis model to achieve continuous improvement in safety performance. What our goal is to ensure that there's an improvement in the field performance in the organization at large. The organization is made up of individuals that come to work together, and we need to have an applied behavioral analysis model that helps us to continuously improve in safety performance. Like we said, a behavior can be changed, the action of people can be changed, and before we know it, it becomes what they do. In-depth research about what works and what doesn't. And according to Krauss, safety programs fail because they rely too much on antecedents, things that come before behavior. Safety program fails because we rely too much on antecedents, things that come before behavior, safety rules, procedures, meeting, and so on. That is according to Krauss. He believes that one of those things that makes safety program to fail is because most organizations, they focus so much on the antecedents and not the consequence. Like what we create before people start working, what they used to work with, the safety rules, the procedure, the meeting, and the likes. So moving forward, talking about the safety improvement process, we need to identify critical, okay, I think we have, sure, you can get it. Just start me up, I'll forward it across. So the safety improvement process, identifying critical problem behaviors, these becomes action items to work on. We should look at the behavior of workers or what is becoming common. Maybe they don't do their inspection regularly. or they are not, they don't have a top, they don't have a fire watch when carrying out what's it called, when carrying out work activities. Sometimes you just observe that a particular section is becoming much more prevalent in carrying out unsafe practice. Okay, maybe you have observed that it is now very common that carpenters, whenever they are going to work at height, they don't wear their body harness, or whenever they are working, they are used to putting the nails in their mouth. You know, there's a kind of behavior that have become common, and it will have been widespread across them. So you need to be able to identify critical problem behaviors, understand the root cause of this behavior, generate potential action, what are the possible solutions, then evaluate the effectiveness of these solutions and develop an action plan to carry out your solution and ensure that you implement it and you follow up on them. So identifying the critical problems, the behavioral problems, or problems that are bringing about negative behavior, you should identify them. They are always common. If you remember the Papa Alpha accident, if you look at it through the screen of behavioral-based safety, you see that there are some things that they started neglecting based on negligence, and it became part of them. It's an aspect of behavior. So ability to be able to identify these negative behaviors and understand the root causes will be able to help us to shaping the behavior. Behavior can also come from management. Maybe their sluggishness in responding to safety issues, or their inactiveness in providing solutions to safety issues. This can come from various aspects when it comes to behavior. Like we said, behavior is not only about the workers, but also the employers as well. So DuPont Safety Training Observation Program, the STOP program, the STOP can, for supervisors, you can carry out, we call it Safety Training Observation Program, ability to be able to observe. Observation is the key part of behavioral-based safety. Supervisors has things to observe. Also, you need to observe their workers. A comprehensive training program that teaches managers, supervisors, and team leaders how to become more skillful, to observe unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, to take actions and to prevent the occurrence. For employees too, how to observe and audit themselves also, how to look at how they work and how to ensure that they have positive behavior. Then stop audits, employee self-audits, and observation and feedback to peers. So macro approach. So macro approach, permanent improvement is achieved through cultural change. You know, micro approach talks about the individuals, talks about everyone individually. The macro approach talks about the culture, the organization at large. So we have what we call the TOPF process, the TOPS process, and it talks about most of these structures are similar. Assessing and analyzing the culture. What is the culture of the organization? What is observable? What is prevalent? What is happening? What is the obvious thing that has become a part of them? Then educate and train to affect attitude. There should be a training that goes around from the top management to the line managers, to supervisors, to the workers, to the technicians, different form of training that will help to change their attitude and approach towards implementing and carrying out their daily activity. Encourage trusted involvement of all employees in problem identification and problem solving. They should be able to identify and be able to solve problems. Reinforce key concepts, that is awareness, responsibility, self-observation, and self-management. Awareness, responsibility, self-observation, observing themselves, and self-management in order to be able to create a culture of change. Then provide ongoing support and commitment. There should be ongoing support and commitment from the management in order to ensure that there's continuous improvement in the system. Observe behaviors and provide feedback tailored to specific needs in the workplace. So someone is asking a question. He said, then if the behavior comes from management, how do you observe management behavior then? It's very simple. If the management is not doing the right thing, you know that your management is not doing the right thing. Safety is not about, is not only from top to bottom. Everyone has a role to play. And that's a part of those things they do in the workplace is to have what we call suggestion box. Anonymous, that can be anonymous. when you have you observe that something is lagging, or a company that is committed to their health and safety, they have meetings where everyone can speak in meeting. Everyone is represented. From each department, someone is represented. From each unit, someone is represented. From each level, someone is represented at top meetings. And these representations can also help them to communicate, effective communication to their top management on what they observe that is lagging behind in management approach. So these are ways that can be done. So let's continue because of time. Time is already passed. Apply strategies to all organizational level. Self-development. We talk about self-level already. Personal self-awareness, self-management, responsibility, and self-observation. That is self-level. Now peer level. At peer level, we should also look at the peers. People create peers among themselves in the workplace, and they start to misbehave sometimes. So peer interaction and support for safe attitude. So you should be able to create peers, establish peers that can be used to help in creating a safe attitude and safe behavior. Leadership level, consistent safety commitment. At the leadership level, there should be commitment, and at the organizational level, the culture with values that improves on positive behavior and reflect clear vision. So focus on measures, not result measures. Okay. Presentation is okay. We'll come to that later, please, because of time. We're already getting feedback, but let us we see how we are halfway done, and we have a few minutes. We want to end this class by 4:30. So focus on process measures, not result measures. I remember during this election, I think that we summarize it when one of the candidates, Peter Obi, I think we have Tinubu, Atiku, and Peter Obi. So Peter Obi was saying that he's not concerned about the result of the election, but the process. I think that when I was going through this material, that was what came to my mind. It came to my mind that, wow, I think this is a good approach, understanding that the process should speak a lot. The process should speak. If you want the material, you chat me up on WhatsApp, please. So there's no way I can send the material to you here, unless, okay, I think, okay, after the class, I think the Zoom can now share material directly. After the class, I'll try and share it, please. So the focus should be on the process and not the result. I think that is very important. So, given importance, OSHA plays on record keeping. Like I said, if you follow the election, and when they talk about process and not the result, this is what it means. The process that determines the result. So understanding the process and looking through the eyes of the process, through the screen of the process, you'll be able to help in improving on the system. So, according to Michael D., it says that there are 9 common obstacles to cultural change, which I'm going to read through. Number 1, it says management has assumed responsibility for safety and supervision role, and supervisors play the role of safety corps. Again, Michael says there are 9 common obstacles to cultural change. Number 1, management has assumed responsibility for safety, and supervisors play the role of safety corps. Safety in such workplace is perceived as negative. The safety message is not getting out because downsizing has reduced the number of individuals available to communicate it. Meanwhile, production demands are on the rise, increasing pressure to cut corners. Okay. The pressure of meeting and other administrative tasks mean less time for supervisors to spend on safety training and reinforcement. There's more of meeting and administrative tasks than the time required for safety training and reinforcement. Supervisors are often poor role models, taking shortcuts themselves and failing to follow companies and other kind of regulations. Supervisors ask employees to take risks. either implicitly or explicitly. Supervisors will condone or overlook risk-taking behavior. Supervisors, they overlook risk-taking behavior until an injury occurs, and then they counter it with discipline. Imagine, line employees hold on to tenacious or counterproductive beliefs such as accidents don't happen to me. Accident will not happen to me. There is a lack of trust between labor management, unresolved conflict. Fear of job loss is prevalent and negatively impacts morale and job performance. So these are some of those things that they believe leads to obstacles to cultural change. Each of these now obstacles, once accepted by a majority of the organization, become part of their beliefs and becomes their culture and what they do. So what are those core beliefs that we need to put in place to influence culture on the personnel and organization level? Number one, we should make them understand that all injuries are preventable. Very important. All injuries are preventable. All forms of injuries are preventable. All employees are responsible for their safety and safety of their co-workers. Management is on time, ultimately responsible for the safety of all employees. Working safely is a condition of employment. All risks will be identified, addressed, and managed. Educating and training employees to work safely is essential. Preventing injuries is good business, a profit-centered activity, business continuity with regards to the framework of health and safety. Safety, production, cost, and quality depend on each other. You should have that kind of a culture where they understand that everything works together. No one is working in isolation. Safety will never be compromised for production or convenience. Every employee has the obligation to shut down an unsafe operation. This is actually questionable. I do not really agree with everything here. The continuing health and wellness of all employees is vital to our long-term success. Like I said, this is a study session. I do not agree with the fact safety and they will call as low as reasonably practicable. When a particular unsafe or unsafe condition is life-threatening and it can lead to death, is life-threatening, then shutdown is inevitable. But when it doesn't lead to death or injury, but it is still as low as reasonably practicable, when every other control has been put in place and there is room for continuous improvement, then shutting down production as a long approach. You can't just define what shutting down means, because production is a different ballgame on their own. I understand that, but when it comes to the issue of the technical aspect of production, a lot of things are involved. You don't just shut down a system, because there's always a downtime and there's always an area that talks about when you want to kickstart or safe startup of that particular equipment. Even shutting down requires safe shutting down. So there are a lot of things that has to do with this. That's why I said it's not everything that I really believe here, but to a greater extent, it will help in understanding and shaping the culture of the organization. So integral approach.
Can I come in here? He talked of safe operation, not shutting down. If you can go back to this slide. Yeah, he talked about every employee has the obligation to shut down an unsafe operation. Yes, okay. An unsafe operation. And we will call it stop work authority. If you don't imbibe that as a culture in your facility, you may run into doom. You must empower people to take responsibility to shut down if there are situations that could translate to accident. If they are not empowered, they will just be playing around. Before you know it, a catastrophic incident can happen in your operation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, that is what is needed. We need people to also contribute to the session. So I'm not the only one. So thank you for that, sir. I actually wanted people to also contribute, and I've gotten that already. So let's move on. Okay, Engineer Abdullah Tiamiyu.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Wali, well done for a very good presentation. And like my elder in the business rightly said, that is why we need to prioritize the safety, whereby every department must be incorporated in the safety decision of an organization. That is why if you have a contractor at site, they must have their own particular work permit at the job location, whereby if anybody observe any unsafe act and unsafe condition in that particular premises, when we give the power to every department, not until when the HSE personnel comes around, they have the right to stop any unsafe act and unsafe condition before it escalates to something we're not able to control. So we have to let that one continue in our own particular day-to-day activities in every organization so that we empower all our departments for them to be able to take charge, not until when the safety personnel, because many things will have been happened before, because many of the contractor safety personnel, they used to hide on, even that's why they have a safety data tax on daily basis, they will be hiding on safe act and safe condition because they know the consequence. But by the time we make sure our culture embed by giving power to every department, that when you see something, you say something, it will go a long way and help us. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you very much, sir. That is well highlighted. I agree with you fully. So now going into integral approach about.
Can I just add something?
Please, sir, quickly, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Waliu. So for me, I think we need to be objective, and we need to also be careful about empowering people to just shut down the process while we are trying to build a culture of safety in our organization. You all agree with me that when you're looking at the safety culture, there are different levels. All right, so if your organization has not gotten to that level, it is not all organization you can allow people to just shut down the process, because the shutting down of what they are doing can affect the other system if they have not agreed together to that level. So I just want to put that out there for us to understand that it gets to a level whereby you can empower people. And to some extent, they understand what they need to do also. So a business or a system that is just to be established, you cannot just say you're empowered to shut down in case you see anything goes wrong. It might not understand what they are doing, and it just assume that it can shut down the process. Then it becomes a problem. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. In safety, there are what we call levels of safety, like what Mr. Alfred Yao said now. Thank you very much, sir. Everyone sending their email. I'm not going to send it to your email. I'm going to send it here and download it here. I'm not going to send to individual emails. I've said it from the beginning. So now we have the pathological level. We have the reactive level. We have the calculative level. We have the, I think, the proactive level, and I think generative is the last one, if I'm correct. That is continuous improvement. So, like what he said, if the organization has not gotten to that level, shutting down can be very difficult. Yes, there can be way, but when safety has not become a business in an organization, when it has not been agreed upon and the management has not seen it as deemed it fit to get to that level, then it becomes very dangerous to implement, because there are so many things that has to do with an organization. Now, I was talking about productivity. Productivity is not only contributed with safety by safety. Productivity has a role to play in quality. Productivity has an aspect in production. Productivity has an aspect in so many areas that has to do with overall workplace productivity. So now, if there's an issue that requires shutting down, the question is, has the organization gotten to that level that everyone understands that aspect? Is it a structure that has been defined? Because the organization knows that they can't even have that condition. And when they have that condition where human life is at risk, when human life is going to be lost, then there's no question than to go, if it has already been identified and it's in the structure and it's in the management system and it's in part of the emergency management plan, that there should be a top work or shutting down, then it can fly. But like we said, there are levels to safety culture in organizations, and for you to understand, you need to understand the level your organization is before you actually go about stopping work in your organization. So let us move ahead. So talking about total safety culture, we have what we call safety performance solutions, which talk about the personnel, the behavior, and the person, the behavior, and the environment. The person, his skills, his knowledge, his abilities, his intelligence, motives, personality. Then environmental factors too can affect people's the total safety culture of an organization, combined with the behavior of individuals, which can be shaped by so many means that we talk about: training, reporting, ensuring compliance, communication, duty of care, recognition, encouragement, motivation, and the likes. All these can work together to create an integral approach in which a culture and individual behavior are both important components and reflect active caring. So lastly, let's look at the Geller's do-it process, which will be the last thing we're talking about today. So the Geller's do-it process is giving us, from the word do it, D-O-I-T, define, observe, intervene, test. Define, observe, intervene, test. So defining means define critical behaviors to increase or decrease. You need to define the critical behaviors. Like I give example of, maybe you observe that, we talk about various levels. We talk about individual level, we talk about peer level, we talk about leadership level, we talk about, I think, management level. We need to, at each level, you need to be able to observe critical behavior that you need to increase or decrease. Then, after defining critical behaviors that you need to increase, I mean define, not observe. You need to define the critical behaviors that should increase or decrease. Maybe for works that requires working with carpenters, you should have done your observations, be able to observe or know the kind of things you need to look out for. What are those negative behaviors? Or what are those positive behaviors that you're looking out for? Then observe, target observable behavior during the pre-intervention phase to determine baseline. Set goals, understand influences on target behaviors. You need to be able to create your own behaviors. You need to be able to target observable behaviors, those ones that you can see, those ones that you can identify, and those ones that you can, we say what people say or see. So from what they say, or what you say, or what they say, and what you see will determine what you will write down as your observation. And then from there, you will now be able to set goals for yourself and understand the influence of those target behaviors, those ones that you want to increase and those ones that you want to decrease. Generally, people always want to improve on positive behaviors and decrease negative behavior. Then intervene to change the target behaviors in desired direction. How do you want people to behave? What is the structure that you have established? Your behavioral safety program. How have you created and established it in such a way that it helps to improve on the behavior of individuals? Then test the impact of the intervention. Test the impact of the intervention procedure by continuing to observe and record the target behaviors during the intervention program. Most times, we write unsafe acts, we have unsafe conditions, we write this report, but we don't take time to analyze them and to know the behavior that is at the as a personal level to a particular worker, and the behavior that is becoming common between a particular peer, maybe among carpenters or among welders or among supervisors or among engineers. A particular behavior, maybe a particular engineer is always coming to request for to carry out a particular job without permit to work. You just want to quickly do a job. You need to observe these different behaviors and to be able to what? After observing them, to look out for how you can create or change that target behavior in the desired direction that helps to improve on the process of the organization. And I think that will be the end of today's class. I would have loved to go through this Geller's 7 principle that define behavioral safety, but I myself have not, though I've gone through it briefly, but I'm still yet to understand it very well. So we can just read it, and I think that is the last slide. Every other one are questions and answers. So let us just read the 7 principles principles of that define behavioral safety. Number one, focus intervention of observable behaviors. We talked about this already. You focus interventions on observable behaviors. You can't judge people based on what they didn't do. It's what you observe that you focus your intervention on. Then look for external factors to both understand and improve behaviors. Easier to define and correct, objectively change directions independent of feelings. So you need to look out for external factors that will help. You need to look out for external factors that to both understand, that will help you to understand and improve on behavior. External factors can be, maybe you look out for a standard behavioral safety program or look out for other parties, maybe third parties or other regulations or guidelines that talks about improving behaviors, and you use it as a guide to know what to do in your organization. Then direct behavior with activators and motivate behaviors with consequences. You need to direct behavior with activators. We talk about activators, that activity, we talk about the meeting, the training, your plan, your SSC plan, behavioral safety plan, all the antecedents, all the things that you need to identify that could make people to behave in a particular way. So you direct your behavior towards antecedents, and you motivate good behavior with the consequences. So both of them are playing a very significant role. Both your antecedents and your consequences are both playing a very significant role. Again, focus on positive consequences to motivate behaviors. Focus on positive consequences. Positive consequences are used to motivate behaviors. Apply the scientific method to improve intervention. Rather than common sense or intuition, be biased. So you need to apply scientific method, scientific approach, research that has been done, like these ones and other ones, to use to improve your system, and not just think about common sense. Then rather use theory to integrate information, but not to limit possibilities. So don't design to answer the question. Your behavioral safety plan, for example, your theories, for example, that you've established, it will help you to integrate what you want to do. It will help you to create a direction on what you want to do. But it should not limit your possibilities. There should always be room for improvement. Then design intervention with consideration of internal feelings and attitude. You need to understand the position of your workers too. There need to be inclusiveness in the system for them to understand that they are also being carried along. You need to understand their attitude, their feelings, and they need to understand where you are going to and how you want to go through it, and how they need to support you how they need to support you to go through that channel for them to have a good safety culture and a good safety approach. And I think that is what all that this material is all about. Thank you all very much. I think the material is on, where did I even get it? I think I saw the material. So thank you all. I really appreciate you. If you have any contribution, please let us contribute.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and detailed explanation. We appreciate you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'm trying to look out for the material here so that I would forward it. Okay, it's on desktop. Okay. So I'm going to forward it to the chat box now. WhatsApp has made it possible for us to share. I said WhatsApp. Zoom has made it possible for us to share materials directly. So I'm going to send it here. So if you are not here, please, if anyone that is not here now, so I'm sending it already. Please download it before we end the session. Please, if you have downloaded it, please kindly type done in the comment section. Sorry, please, if you have downloaded it, kindly type done in the comment section. Kindly type done if you have downloaded it. Okay. Okay, we have some feedback here. HSE training should cut across all levels of department with proper understanding of SOP, okay, of work and other education, not to just stop the work that you don't understand the process. Great presentation, great presentation. Okay. Okay. Presentation is excellently executed by presenter, especially as you try to flag the downside of BBS as only effective when the whole management system is also giving its desired attention. All right, thank you, sir. Okay. Are we all done?
Okay, if I may add, Mr. Walu.
All right, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate. Just like you rightly said before you started the session, of course, there are different school of thoughts when it comes to BBS, because I'm also a certified BBS professional. I also know that everything, in fact, all of them, because I'm seeing this material for more or less for the first time as compared to the one I am used to. So, and I know very well that, of course, they are basically sharing the same concept, but in a different way anyway. So it's very important for us to also understand that when it comes to consequence, which you rightly highlighted, it has to be immediate and it has to be certain. Yes, because when consequences are not immediate and certain, it creates room for people to begin to, try to be speculative or predictive of that system. And it also gives room for people to misbehave. Taking a typical example is our own culture, for instance. Why people obey law outside Nigeria, for instance, is the fact that the consequence is immediate and is certain. You know that once you break a rule, for instance, the consequence will come and is immediate. Otherwise, you allow, there's something that is called error, delay error in behavior-based safety. Because when that delay error comes in, even when you are trying to positively reinforce people, which you also rightly say, when somebody exhibit a desired behavior, if you don't reinforce that person immediately, you allow room for delay error. And when you allow room for delay error, it also discourages others from exhibiting positive behavior. Then you also talk about shaping. Shaping is very critical because when it comes to shaping, it works mostly when it comes from management or leaders, supervisors, managers. Because what are you trying to shape? You are trying to shape the behavior of the workers in a way that you want it. And shaping can also work when you have new people coming into a system. So you have the old people that will also help to shape the new joiners to more or less like conform with the culture of that system that they have come in. So if the new people in the system are not positively shaped, what it means is that they will just take on the culture that they pick immediately they come into that environment. So that is also very critical. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. Everyone, I hope everyone has downloaded the material. I sent the material already on the Zoom chat, so you can download it. Okay, everyone has downloaded it. Okay. Thank you very much. See you all again next week. We are going to invite one of our guys to come and talk to us next week. Hopefully, by God's grace. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your contribution, addition, subtraction, and division. So see you all again next time. Bye-bye. All of you just joining now. You are in your state too.